Let me tell you something. Something that might surprise you. Something that might even make you look at your morning breakfast a little differently. Eggs. Yes, good old eggs. For many of us, they've been a symbol of nourishment for decades. I've seen generations grow strong on them. I've seen tired bodies rebuild with their protein. I've seen the joy of a sunny side up on a quiet Sunday morning. But here's the truth I need you to hear, and please listen with your heart wide open. Eggs, as powerful and wholesome as they can be, can also turn against you. They can turn into poison, not metaphorically, but biologically, when we make certain mistakes. Mistakes that are far more common than you think. Mistakes that are silently impacting the health of millions of seniors, like you and me. You see, food doesn't just nourish us. It interacts with our body, our biology, our aging cells. And with eggs, one of the most biologically dense foods, even a small misstep can shift it from being healing to harmful. The first mistake people make is overcooking eggs, especially at high heat. I can't count the number of times I've seen eggs fried on a hot iron skillet until the edges turn brown and crispy. It may look delicious, but what's happening in that pan is not so pretty inside your body. When the proteins in eggs are exposed to very high temperatures, they denature in ways that cause the release of compounds known as advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs, when accumulated in the body, promote oxidative stress and inflammation. A study published in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association found that dry heat cooking methods, such as frying or baking, produce significantly higher AGEs compared to boiling or poaching. For aging adults who already carry a heavier burden of inflammation, this means extra stress on the arteries, the joints, and even the brain. And that's just one layer. When you cook an egg in oil that has already been heated past its smoke point, like reused vegetable oil, or even fresh oils like sunflower or soybean at high temperatures, those oils break down into trans fats and toxic aldehydes. Now you're not only creating AGEs from the protein, but you're also saturating the food with lipid oxidation products that have been linked to cancer and heart disease. The World Health Organization has long warned about the dangers of trans fats, and the European Food Safety Authority noted how exposure to aldehydes, even in small amounts, can increase the risk of chronic illnesses. So that little breakfast routine, that sizzling egg in the pan with some oil, might be sending your body signals of distress every single morning. Another mistake, and this one is almost invisible, is combining eggs with processed meats. I understand the comfort of it. Bacon and eggs, sausage and scrambled eggs. For many of us, it's a tradition that reaches back to childhood. But science doesn't bow to tradition. When eggs are eaten with processed meats like bacon or sausages, you're creating a meal rich in choline and nitrates. Now, choline in eggs is essential, yes. It supports the liver and the brain. But when it's metabolized in the presence of carnitine and nitrates found in red and processed meats, your gut bacteria convert it into a compound called TMAO, trimethylamine N-oxide. Research published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that high levels of TMAO are strongly associated with cardiovascular disease. TMAO increases cholesterol buildup in the arteries, thickens arterial walls, and creates a breeding ground for heart failure. It's not the egg alone, it's the pairing, the combination. It's what we do without realizing the inner war we create in our blood vessels. There's also the danger of raw or undercooked eggs. I know many people who still believe in consuming raw eggs for their protein or fitness routines. Or they'll add a raw yolk into a smoothie, thinking it preserves more nutrients. What they often overlook is the risk of salmonella. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has repeatedly warned that seniors, whose immune systems may already be weaker, are particularly vulnerable to foodborne illnesses. One contaminated egg can cause fever, dehydration, diarrhea, and in older adults, it can even lead to hospitalization or worse. The risk is not imaginary. Each year, over 1 million people get sick from contaminated eggs, and the elderly are among the most at risk. A study from Clinical Infectious Diseases highlighted how seniors above the age of 65 had a higher mortality rate from salmonella than any other age group. Now let me speak on storage. We often buy a dozen eggs, place them in the fridge door where it's convenient, and forget them until needed. But the refrigerator door is the warmest part, constantly exposed to changing temperatures. Eggs stored this way are more likely to develop bacteria, if not used quickly. Also, keeping eggs after their best before date is another silent danger. As they age, the protective membrane inside begins to break down, making it easier for bacteria to slip in. According to a study published in Food Control, eggs stored beyond 3 weeks in less than ideal conditions showed a dramatic increase in microbial contamination. And if those eggs are then undercooked, the risk of infection becomes very real. For older adults with a slower metabolism and reduced gastric acidity, the body's defenses may no longer be enough. Then there's the issue of mixing eggs with high-sugar foods. You might think, but doctor, who eats sugary things with eggs? The truth is, many baked goods contain this very mix. Cakes, pastries, French toast, even certain pancakes combine eggs with refined sugar. When egg proteins bind with sugars under heat, another harmful compound forms. These are called glycotoxins. Similar to ages, they can accelerate aging, damage blood vessels, impair kidney function, and increase the risk of insulin resistance. For people with pre-diabetes or metabolic issues, this means worsening blood sugar control. Research from Diabetes Care confirms that diets high in these compounds correlate with a faster decline in pancreatic function. That means over time, your body produces less insulin and responds poorly to the insulin it does produce. So what started as a harmless treat may be making your journey into your 70s and beyond more difficult than it needs to be. Another common oversight is ignoring the source of the eggs. Not all eggs are created equal. Commercially raised hens are often fed antibiotics, genetically modified grains, and are kept in crowded conditions that increase stress and disease risk. These eggs, while appearing the same from the outside, may contain residues of antibiotics and lower omega-3 content. On the other hand, pasture-raised eggs from hens allowed to roam and eat a natural diet contain higher levels of vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, and antioxidant carotenoids. A study in Poultry Science found that pasture-raised eggs had twice as much vitamin E and almost 3 times the omega-3 content compared to conventionally raised ones. That's the difference between food that heals and food that silently harms. For seniors especially, choosing the higher quality egg means feeding the body more of what it truly needs to maintain muscle, repair tissue, and protect cognitive health. I also need to speak on repetition. Eating the same food every day, even one as nutritious as eggs, can lead to intolerance over time. The human immune system is complex, and when repeatedly exposed to the same proteins, especially in an aging digestive system, it can begin to react negatively. I have personally treated patients who developed mild but chronic symptoms like bloating, fatigue, and skin irritations, only to discover the cause was overconsumption of eggs. Rotating your protein sources, alternating days, and giving your gut time to reset is not a luxury. It's a necessity, particularly after 60 when the body becomes more sensitive to food patterns that were once harmless. Now, my dear reader, I am not here to scare you. I am here to awaken you. Eggs are a beautiful food when respected. They are rich in choline, lutein, zeaxanthin, and high-quality protein. They can help maintain muscle, improve eye health, and provide steady energy. But as we age, our bodies change. The margin for error grows thinner. The impact of a mistake grows larger. It's no longer about just eating a food. It's about knowing how that food behaves inside your aging body. You owe it to yourself to be mindful. So boil your eggs gently, poach them, skip the processed meats and use herbs or vegetables instead. Keep your oil clean and cold-pressed. Buy pasture-raised whenever you can. Store them properly and don't cling to old habits just because they bring you comfort. Let them bring you healing instead. Remember, health is not built on what you eat occasionally. It is built on what you do daily, what you choose consistently, and what you avoid mindfully. If you can make even one small change today, it could mean more energy, less pain, and years of quality life added to your journey. You're not just nourishing your body when you eat. You are casting a vote for how you want to feel tomorrow. Let your meals become your medicine, and let each bite be filled not only with taste, but with wisdom. You have the power to turn a potential poison back into powerful healing. And that, my friend, is a choice worth making every single day. What happens inside your body when you eat eggs the wrong way? Let me ask you something. When you sit down to eat an egg, do you ever wonder what truly happens inside your body after that first bite? It seems simple, doesn't it? A boiled egg for breakfast, maybe scrambled eggs on toast. But the truth is, what happens inside your body depends entirely on how that egg was prepared, what it was combined with, and how your aging system responds. Most people don't give this much thought. They assume an egg is just an egg, but that's not how the human body works, especially not after 60, when every system becomes more sensitive, more reactive, and more deeply impacted by even the smallest food choices. I've been a doctor long enough to see patterns. I've watched people thrive with the right diet and suffer silently when their choices turn against them. And today, I want to walk you through exactly what happens inside your body when you eat eggs the wrong way. Let's begin with the moment the egg enters your mouth. If it's fried in oil and cooked at high heat until the edges are browned, you've already taken the first step in a direction that may harm rather than heal. High heat cooking causes the proteins in eggs to undergo structural changes. These changes lead to the formation of compounds known as advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs don't just disappear, they accumulate in your tissues. Studies published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology have shown that AGEs trigger inflammation and oxidative stress, especially in older adults. That inflammation doesn't stay in one place. It travels through your bloodstream, irritating your joints, your arteries, and even your brain. Now let's say that egg was cooked in vegetable oil that had already been used before, perhaps reused from the day before. That oil, when reheated, breaks down into harmful substances like trans fats and aldehydes. Your digestive system absorbs those toxins and they travel to your liver. The liver, already working overtime to process medications or filter out daily waste, must now break down these dangerous compounds. Research published in Toxicology Letters highlights how lipid peroxidation products formed during the heating of certain oils are directly linked to cellular damage and DNA mutations. And over time, those repeated exposures, one fried egg at a time, can add up to chronic liver strain and increased cancer risk. But the story doesn't end there. Once that egg reaches your stomach, your digestive enzymes begin to break it down. This is where another problem begins if you've paired your egg with processed meats like bacon or sausage. Eggs are rich in choline, a nutrient your brain and liver need. But when choline mixes with the carnitine and nitrates in processed meat, your gut bacteria produce a compound called trimethylamine. Your liver then converts it into trimethylamine N-oxide, or TMAO. The New England Journal of Medicine published a pivotal study showing that high levels of TMAO are strongly associated with increased risk of heart disease. TMAO changes how cholesterol is processed and encourages plaque buildup in your arteries. Over time, those arteries stiffen and narrow, limiting the oxygen and nutrients that reach your heart, your brain, and your muscles. Now imagine you've cooked your eggs but paired them with white toast, jam, or pancakes covered in syrup. This sugar-protein combination is especially dangerous when heated. Sugar reacts with egg proteins to create glycotoxins similar to AGEs. These compounds don't just cause blood sugar spikes, they contribute to insulin resistance. And this matters deeply because as you age, your body's natural insulin sensitivity declines. According to research from Diabetes Care, this decline accelerates in the presence of high glycotoxin diets. That means your body begins to store more fat, your energy levels dip, and your risk for type 2 diabetes climbs higher with every sweet and savory breakfast you think is harmless. Let's also talk about your immune system. When you eat eggs too often, especially if they are poorly cooked or from low-quality sources, your immune system can begin to view those proteins as threats. I've seen many patients over 60 who develop sensitivities without realizing it. They feel bloated, tired, or develop skin issues like eczema or rashes. They never suspect the egg. But immunoglobulin testing often shows a mild intolerance to egg proteins caused by repeated overexposure. This is made worse if the gut lining is already compromised by stress, medications, or years of processed foods. The inflammation caused by this immune response puts additional strain on your body and makes recovery slower after illness or injury. And then there's the matter of cholesterol. For decades, eggs were blamed unfairly for raising cholesterol. But recent studies have shown that for most people, Moderate egg intake does not significantly raise LDL levels. However, when eggs are consumed with saturated fats, especially from butter, cheese, or fatty meats, the story changes. That combination leads to increased absorption of dietary cholesterol and a greater rise in LDL particles. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that seniors who consumed high-fat meals with eggs had more oxidized LDL particles than those who ate eggs with vegetables or whole grains. Oxidized LDL is particularly dangerous. It is the form most likely to stick to artery walls and trigger heart attacks or strokes. Now consider the quality of the egg itself. Many eggs today come from factory farmed chickens, fed antibiotics, growth stimulants, and low-grade feed. These eggs may carry residues that your body is forced to filter out. Studies in environmental health perspectives have found traces of environmental toxins like dioxins and PCBs in eggs from low-quality sources. For a younger body, these might pass with little issue, but in older adults with slower detoxification and declining kidney function, these toxins can contribute to chronic fatigue, hormonal disruption, and even memory issues. A senior's body needs clean, natural nutrition to thrive, not something that burdens the system further. Even the way eggs are stored makes a difference. If eggs are left on the counter for too long or stored in the fridge door where temperature fluctuates, bacteria can multiply on the shell and seep inside. Salmonella is not just a concern for young children. In older adults, it can lead to hospitalization, dehydration, and even organ failure. One study from Clinical Infectious Diseases revealed that elderly patients were nearly 5 times more likely to suffer serious complications from foodborne salmonella infections compared to younger adults. So you see, an egg isn't just an egg. It's a complex interaction of preparation, pairing, digestion, and response. When done right, it can support your brain, protect your eyes, maintain muscle, and keep you satisfied. But when done wrong, it can damage your arteries, upset your immune system, burden your liver, and age your body faster than you realize. This isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to awaken you. Because you deserve to know what's happening inside your body. You deserve to feel strong and sharp, not weighed down by the silent consequences of everyday habits. And the beauty is that the change is simple. Cook your eggs gently. Use olive oil or boil them. Avoid processed meats and sugary sides. Choose pasture-raised eggs. Rotate your proteins. Listen to how your body feels after eating. Small steps, big rewards. Remember, it's not about giving up the foods you love. It's about giving them the respect they deserve. Your body is wiser than you think. When you treat it with care, it speaks back to you in the form of energy, clarity, and peace. So let every egg you eat be a conscious act of healing, not harm. Let it nourish you the way nature intended. Because after 60, every choice matters. And you, my friend, are worth every single mindful bite.